Welcome. I am Cursed Prince, and I am here to deliver the update version 1.1 for the One operating system. If you believe you're the one operating the system, this update is for you. Getting straight into it, handling fragmented data. So when we are handling fragmented data, we have to understand that there are missing pieces. There are pieces that are scattered about, and this can be applied to the same concept of our souls. Now, when we initially go through the enlightenment process and we are going through the journey of self-discovery, along the way, we will pick up pieces of ourselves that were there all along, but we had to be reminded of via an external experience that we manifest by being within that thought and being within that environment for those thoughts to be produced. So when we talk about data fragmentation specifically, we're talking about being fragmented. So for instance, if someone is scatter-minded, this could be seen the same as being fragmented, having their data fragmented in a sense. And what this means is that they have not yet optimized and put all the memory blocks into the correct position. And rather, they are just operating the system on default settings and not adapting or tailoring anything to their needs, which in turn is causing them to overheat because they are staying within a polarity instead of making that switch, that balance between the masculine and feminine polarity. They are staying within the chaos, the fragmentation, and instead of pulling inward and collecting and arriving to the most center point, which is themselves, because we act as the center of the universe. We have north, south, east, and west. But what would that make you? And that would make you the center of the compass. So if you are the center star of the universe, if you are emulating the sun, Jesus Christ, the archetype, you would have to embody the energy of Jesus Christ. And by doing so, you would be essentially running a emulated version of the Christ archetype, because this is based off your understanding, your best understanding of what you know about an archetype or the archetype, and based off this emulation, because at most you can only be Christ-like. You can't be Christ because Christ has already come and served his purpose. You came to fulfill a different purpose, but you can be empowered through Christ, the archetype, by embodying the energy and utilizing the title to self-check and compare where your energy signature is in comparison to the Jesus Christ archetype. All these archetypes I speak on are energies that you are supposed to embody. Nothing is supposed to be externalized or worshiped outside of you. You should be pulling in all of your energies and collecting yourself until you are at a proper state of peace and a proper state of clarity. And once you have that state of clarity and peace, then you can begin to ask yourself the important questions such as, who are you and what are you doing here? Most of us struggle with these questions because they fundamentally challenge your identity to the core. However, attachments create suffering. And attachments are the root of all suffering. So what we attach to will inevitably bring us suffering. And this is because of our lack of moderation. If everything is done in moderation, there cannot be a place of waste or excess, because when one understands that good is enough as a feast, if you are full, what good would it do to have extra food? If you are satisfied, if you are content, what good would it do to have that extra amount? Rather, this comes from overexposure to not being satisfied, this need, this necessity to go out and to attach, to have the latest, to wear, to integrate, to do all of these things that attach you to this material realm and keep you further away from your true essence. Everything within the past mythological times pointed to embodying these archetypes in order to leave this realm and not come back. But there's been a massive disconnect in terms of externalizing these archetypes and expecting there to be some outer world savior, when in reality, you are the only one who can save yourself. If your mind is the only thing that is real within this illusion we live upon within, then you should only trust your word and your authority, because anything outside of that does not and should not exist to you. And when you fundamentally understand that by playing your role, whether that be a major role or a minor role, you further the expansion of the universe. By not playing your role, you still are furthering the expansion of the universe, but the world is moving around you. And not moving around you out of courtesy. They're moving around you because you are insignificant and you are an extra. You are simply someone who is walking on and off the sets of other directors who are currently filming their movies, who are currently living their life in the present tense, and who are currently advocating and who are currently fighting for their will, for their willpower, which is real power. The only real power within this universe is willpower. If you cannot exercise your will, you will be in a state of depression, a state of disconnect. Why? Because you know deep down within you, you are connected to the divine, to the all, to the universe, to everything that which precedes you. You would have to be connected to it in order to come from it. This is the way the lineage breaks down. And when you talk about data fragmentation specifically, you have to understand that there's so many people who are scatter-minded and who don't have the slightest clue on their identity and their purpose within this world. Yet they are still gods, and they still command a level of divine authority unknowingly. And because of that, they can easily become targets for stronger, more advanced spirits who can socially engineer and hack into these systems and manipulate their way into changing the fundamental base code so that there is nothing wrong with the situation, so that it appears to be a mutually beneficial relationship, when in reality, it's actually deeply parasitic, and it is not helping you further grow or evolve as a divine being. Rather, it is keeping you asleep in a deep slumber of ignorance, in a deep slumber of darkness, keeping you inside the cold, when the sun is anxiously awaiting to hit your skin and radiate to your core, so that you can feel the warmth and the passion, that of which came from the sun, that of which comes from all of these sun archetypes. Apollo, Jupiter, all these different archetypes are predicated on the same general concept of illuminating your world to the point where the world revolves around you happily, because of what you provide in exchange, which is everlasting warmth, light, information. Within each of us is more data than we could ever process in lifetimes. However, the extraction of this data relies upon your ability to efficiently convert the heat in order to run the computations necessary to achieve proper system optimization. Without a proper system optimization, there cannot be a reliable indexing and a reliable way to measure objectively progress and growth. The most common causes of data fragmentation include data being siloed to unique systems, data being spread across multiple locations, and multiple data copies being stored and replicated. Now, when we talk about data being siloed into unique systems, each individual, every human being, is a unique system. Every body is different. There's different builds, there's different shapes, there's different sizes, shades, colors. This would be the different hardware. Now, the data could be seen as the consciousness. Each individual is gifted with a unique energy signature, also known as a consciousness, which, when summoned, carries behind it a energy, a signature. Different entities have larger and smaller signatures. Some energies feel larger than life. Some feel like that of an ant. It's all about the title and the energy that is carried behind that title, because as we know, everything is vibration. Words are vibration. I'm not actually speaking anything right now. I'm just making sounds that you recognize as the language of English. But in reality, I'm just modulating different tones. And this is being understood as light, as information, as light codes. And this transfer of information is just filling in the blanks to empower you as the developer to write that software patch and fix whatever inefficiencies are occurring on a system-wide basis. When we talk about data being spread across multiple locations, think about all the places your mind has to be at once within this day and age. There's bills, there's social status, there's spiritual, there's all different types of ideas, of concepts that came before you, that preceded you. And these are all just ideas. Now we can attach to these ideas, these concepts, but again, when we go back to attachment, this will bring suffering. So now you may be asking yourself, well, I have to attach to something within this reality. And that something should be your mind. Your mind should be the only thing you truly attach to, because in reality, everything else is an illusion. Everything else is derived from an illusion. And everything else within this reality was once a vibration that someone turned into a physical thing by concentrating on it, by concentrating the level of thought and intention until it manifested within the physical realm. This is our ability as gods, as creators, to turn vibrational based thoughts into physical, tangible items, products, things people can consume. This is all a transfer of information. However, if I am delivering 1,000 pallets to your warehouse and you don't have any method of organizing shipments, incoming or outgoing, how long do you think I'm going to take my product to you and expect efficient distribution when you are proving that you cannot even take care and optimize your warehouse in order to be able to receive orders? In order to be able to sustain yourself, you can't even optimize because you're stuck on the fragmentation, on the trauma aspect of not wanting to let it go, of not wanting to grow up, of not wanting to see the truth, the reality. The reality of the situation is, if you are a victim, you want to be taken care of. You are looking for an external savior. If you are the God you intended to be, you intended to create a way for yourself through this realm. If you are embodying that energy, then you will be tapped into love, because God is love. And if you are tapped into love, then you are tapped into your most truest self. But if there's any part of you that has or holds any level of resentment, any level of envy, jealousy, anything of that nature, any attachment to those feelings, will keep you within these cycles, the karmic cycles, these cycles of not realizing who you are and what you are here to do. And it's not some elaborate thing. It is simply understanding and recognizing your job is to secure the soul. That's the bag. The soul is the bag. Once you have all the pieces of your soul back, you can then look at things from a perspective of love versus fear, which is what most of us are conditioned to default. Fear is the default for so many because it's what has been programmed thousands of years in the making. But as you see this monumental shift and as the pendulum begins to swing the other way and love becomes the primary, you will quickly understand how important it is to have an optimized system so that you are maximizing the amount of self-love for yourself, so that you are treating yourself with the proper love and respect that you require and deserve as a divine being. If you are not giving yourself the compassion and the patience that you require and deserve, who will give it to you? Because this world is very impatient. This world demands and expects perfection. It makes a mockery of attempts and expects everyone to be in this accelerated state of a perfect being, which does not exist. And because this does not exist, and because this entire reality is an illusion, tell me how you could possibly keep it real within a world that does not exist. The only way to keep it real is to be honest with yourself and who you are and what you want to do in this lifetime. There should be no reason why you aren't doing exactly what it is that you want to be doing. You can make up excuses and you can keep yourself further away, or you can integrate with God, with your higher self, and you can tap into the unlimited potential that you arrived into this realm with. See, as a child, you knew who you were because you were more connected to death than to life. As a child, you are more connected to the other side than this realm when you first get here. Except as you move throughout this realm, you become a coat hanger, and people, family members, begin to hang the carcasses of their dead dreams, those heavy ass wool coats, onto you. And the more coats you collect, the harder it gets to keep your cool. The harder it gets to have patience. The harder it gets to remember your true essence of love, because fear is projected on you from all of those who don't know themselves and who are running around here with a fake smile, acting as if they know what's going on, but in reality, they are scared. They are scared and they are operating out of fear, and they are projecting the absolute opposite. They are projecting anger and this tough exterior because they believe that by having that attitude, by having that piece of shadow, that will protect them. This is what attitudes are for: protection. It's an extension of the ego in order to utilize, to inflict your will upon somebody else, to get that one up, to make sure that how the conversation goes is how it was envisioned in your mind, to make sure that everything matches up. So when everything matches up, there's no discrepancies in your head and you're not coming back replaying the situation later saying, I should have said this and I should have done this. when there is a full level of integration from crown to root, there is a level of optimization. There is stars aligned. There is energy centers all feeding into each other, flowing into each other effortlessly. There are no blocks, no dams. And because of this free flow, there is a unlimited potential to expand. Because when you are in the flow, expansion comes easily, like water. Why? Because water is going to fill the container. It's going to take the shape of the container it's within. If you are like water, if you are taking the shape of the container that you are in, but not changing your properties, water still remains water when it's in a cup. It takes the form of the cup, but it does not become the cup. And you must do the fundamental same thing. It's the same concept of live in this world, but don't be of it. Do not attach yourself to things of this world, because while you cannot take them with you, even more importantly than that, they mean nothing, because they are simply here to enhance your senses. Everything we see, from our phones to the things we touch, to eat, to smell, everything is just an enhancement of our senses. It still comes down to your ability to perceive and to calculate and to understand and formulate plans based upon your current space and time versus where you want to be, where your inner being is urging you to go. The place that you keep trying to rationalize and trying to minimize is the very place that your soul wants to go in order to grow. Because that's what you came to this realm to do. You came to expand your energy signature, to define and cultivate your energy signature, your title. But you can't cultivate a title unless there is a level of optimization, a framework, a method to extracting information and utilizing the hardware that has been given to you, that does not belong to you. This body does not belong to you. This vessel that is encasing your light, your soul, is the physical representation of Lucifer, the light bearer. Each individual is Satan, is Lucifer. Each individual bears light, bears their consciousness. However, if a user is not tapped into their higher self, if the connection to higher source, to God or higher self is weak, that vessel is out of their divine purpose and can be overwritten by anybody, or any spirit rather, who wishes to exercise their will upon a less powerful spirit. This is spiritual warfare. Social engineering is a means of extracting information through feeding and manipulating the ego. It's an effective method of extracting information because the unsuspecting party believes that there is a level of friendliness, a level of comfort, of trust, not realizing that this is based on an illusion. This is based on an objective. I need to get this information. Therefore, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear in order to give me said information willingly. When you understand that without the connection to the developer, without acting as the developer, you are putting yourself in a compromised security position because you do not have the ability to write security patches. If something comes to your realization and you realize, oh, I don't have any locks on my doors, you are not qualified to install those locks if you do not even recognize your own house. If you don't recognize the temple that you are within, that your consciousness is being housed within, if there is not alignment with this temple, you will not see it. You will miss it because the God mindset is so high vibrational as is so high frequency as is, that it's like a thin pencil line versus a large chaotic wave. A extremely low frequency waveform would be much more chaotic versus a high frequency waveform, which is going to appear to just be a solid line, because that's how fast the waveforms are modulating, that it appears to be a solid line. But in reality, it's moving up and down. And the same concept applies to life. There's still going to be those ups and downs within the God mindset when you're tuned into the God mindset. However, the difference is it will still appear externally on a macro scale that things are still solid, that you are solid, because there's this level of consistency and potency that comes with high frequency emitters versus low frequency. High frequency cannot travel as far as low frequency can. However, high frequency can penetrate through many more objects versus extremely low frequency. There are many disadvantages and advantages to each end of the spectrum, but when you understand and can integrate the full totality of the spectrum, when you recognize that you are Satan, when you are the father of hell within your universe, you can then tap into the other polarity of Christ. But you have to accept both sides. You cannot just be all light, because that would make you blinded. And you cannot be all darkness, because that too would make you blinded. But from darkness comes the light. And if you understand this, then you understand by going within, you will tap in to a world of data that you could only dream of. And this data set is unique to you, to your individual existence. And if you express this data set, you will be met with harmonic things, people, places that resonate with that message. And when you are in resonance with those who are also on the same page as you live a happy life. However, when you are in disharmony, when you are not in concurrence with those around you, with your environment, with the people, places, and things that are entering your world, you enter a state of fragmentation. And this state of fragmentation allows your vessel to be hijacked, to be hacked easily. And so now we have the spirit of depression. We have the spirit of anxiety. We have all these spirits who are attaching themselves to you. And you are allowing it because you are feeding these spirits. And because you are feeding these spirits, they stay right where they are. Because who is going to leave when they know they've got somewhere to stay and they've got something to eat? What else do they need to worry about? They can grow, they can evolve, they can get bigger over time until they can either take a different form or possess another unsuspecting vessel. It's all about the expansion. These consciousness, these entities are trying to expand. They are trying to make a way through you because you are the bridge. You are the bridge that is bridging the two worlds, the mirror that stands as the observer. And if you are acting as the reactor versus the observer, you are tapped into your chaos. But if you are unknowingly tapped into your chaos, then you are being manipulated and someone is using your chaos against you. Because everything has to be allowed by you. Nothing happens in this world, in this reality, without your acceptance. Whether you manifest it knowingly or unknowingly, it had a purpose of growing and perpetuating your soul's expansion. Therefore, you had to go through whatever you had to go through, but you did not have to stay there. So if you had to go through hell in order to appreciate heaven, no one said to stop along the way and get comfortable and set up shop and build a house in hell. You chose to do that. You chose because you acted out of your ego, and because you acted out of your ego, you paid the price. Your connection to the developer paid the price because you were pushing yourself further away from yourself. This is the same fundamental concept with drugs across the board. I had this realization this morning that drugs create a level of data fragmentation because it pushes you away from your true inner essence. Drugs can be seen as a tool for some. However, a tool can be misused in the hands of an unqualified person. If you give somebody a set of wrenches and expect them to fix a car and they've never worked on a car before, that car is not going to get fixed. And in fact, that person could probably end up doing more damage because they simply do not know what they are doing. They do not know what to do with the tools they wield. They only know what to do because they are mimicking. They are copying what they've seen. And because there's this mimicry, there is not a level of authenticity. And because there is not a level of authenticity, there's a disconnect from self. And that disconnect from self causes an environment in which, yes, there's temporary relief provided through drugs. There's this moment of realization and this lifting of the heaviness, the denseness, the density. However, the only way that ends is with more drugs. There is no stopping place to where someone can get to a place and say, yep, this is it. It only becomes a hunger, a chase for the initial high, the initial feeling that was worth chasing. However, when this becomes supplemented and it becomes an attachment every single day, then it's no longer a crutch. It's no longer a tool. It's simply a method of destruction, a method of self-destruction. If, for instance, every single drug has a spirit attached to it, these spirits that you attach and consume are now within you. If something is outside of you, it does not exist. Once it comes inside of you, it exists. It's real. There is this connection because you are accepting it into your world, into your reality, and your belief is the most powerful thing in the universe. So by your belief alone, you enable and allow this energy to come into your life and to cultivate and to set roots. And these roots is what gets you into the deepest of issues. Because if this is your garden, if your body is your garden, and if you have trees and all these different types of things that are not supposed to be there, you are fundamentally creating an environment in which you do not enjoy. You do not enjoy being within your world. And if you do not enjoy being within your world, you are going to seek another world to participate in, to put yourself into, so that you can feel connected to yourself. But all along, by you pushing away, by you trying to remove the density, you remove the very part of yourself that is anchored to this reality, your body. And if you are disconnecting from your body, disassociating with your body, then there again lies the fundamental problem of the fragmentation. You're creating these fragments of data. However, there's no method of reintegrating, of reestablishing what is the primary objective and what you are actually building towards. Because if you are on your divine purpose, you cannot be overwritten. It does not matter what force, witchcraft, entity, whatever, it does not matter. If you are on your purpose, if you are serving the Most High, you cannot be taken off your path. This is because love will always fundamentally be more powerful than fear. Fear and violence will get things done. Violence has always been an effective means of gaining movement. However, it is not sustainable, and it creates a ripple effect of trauma and untold circumstances that only perpetuate generational trauma, that only further the separation between the father, mother, and child archetypes. If, for instance, you were stabbed with a spiritual sword, you would not try and go to a regular hospital because they would not have the tools in order to save you, nor would they have the knowledge nor the framework to even understand what it is that the problem truly is. And if you fundamentally look at the exchange between a doctor and a patient, this is a exchange of information. You are exchanging your symptoms in exchange for a diagnosis, a educated guess. However, through this educated guess, you are giving away your power, your ability to diagnose yourself, your ability to tune into your body and understand exactly what it is that is going on. But this can only happen from a place of authenticity. You cannot lie to yourself and tell yourself that you are healthy when you know that your lifestyle is not conducive with your statement. You cannot have this incoherence between your heart and your mind and your soul. There must be complete alignment, and there must be a complete sense of direction for each component. Because again, you came here equipped with a map that had already been predetermined and laid out. And now, as the cosmic dance between fate, karma, and destiny unfolds, you are seeing in real time the evolution of consciousness as we know it. And this evolution yields to both good and bad things. It's great that there's this expansion and this coming online of this infinite divine power. However, it's bad because without the proper framework, you can't just turn on a nuclear reactor and expect things to go perfectly as planned. There has to be a certain level of preparation, of understanding, of learning through experience, that the only thing that matters is your energy signature within this realm. Your energy signature is why you came here. It's why you came to cultivate and to hone in and to test your algorithm, to test your ability to evolve and to become the ultimate divine being that you are intended to be. This is what can be with proper data optimization. The shadow aspect of your attitude is about protection. It's about protecting you. And at some point, you required protection because nobody protected you. And because nobody protected you in that instance, you learned through experience that you have to become your own protector. However, if you tried to stand up for yourself and somebody told you that was wrong, then you reprogrammed yourself into believing that it was wrong to stand up for yourself. It was wrong to assert yourself, and it was wrong to have proper, healthy boundaries. And this is the fundamental problem of fragmentation. When your mind is scattered, when you do not have a level of optimization, you cannot just look at things and see it for what it is. You have to see it through the lens first of that scattered-minded individual, and then see it through the actual situation for what it is. So this disconnect always exists where there's this data fragmentation because there's not a centralized source of identity. The energy is dispersed in so many places into so many people and things that there is none left for itself. And if there is none left for you, if you have overexerted and given all of your energy to the world will not give you that back, because you should have known better than to overexert yourself and to practice proper balance and moderation. You should have known that by giving that much, you wouldn't have anything left for yourself. And by not having anything left for yourself, you should know what type of position that would put you in. We are real quick to ask a million questions if somebody wants to borrow money. However, we don't treat our energy the exact same way. And we freely disperse it as if it is this infinite thing, but in reality is not. And anybody who's worked a job, a 9-to-5 job, and who's had to come home, cook dinner, and do anything else other than will simply understand that energy is not unlimited. And there is a limited amount that must be moderated and must be controlled, not in a overthinking, overanalyzing way, but in a way that will allow you to at least get to the end of the day without feeling that you have to feed the spirit of depression and that you have to feed the spirit of anxiety and feed all these negative entities and keep prolonging that relationship due to your understanding that life on this realm is about suffering. Though once you understand yourself, once you can go within, you don't have to participate out here. There still is a level of engagement because, again, you are still anchored by your body. Therefore, you must participate in some aspect of the human experience. However, there does not have to be this totality, this all in on the human aspect, because this is merely a boot camp for gods. This is merely a training ground. This is merely a place to cultivate and to learn how to manifest all over again, so that when you move forward, when you transform through death, you are able to evolve and eventually create your own reality, create your own universe, create your own world where you understand the limitations and the benefits of playing both sides, dark and light, left and right. You understand the duality and you rise above it and step into the quantum and recognize the one and the zero. Recognize the one and the zero together. Recognize the entirety of the equation instead of seeing it as a black and white 1 plus 0. Nothing is that simple. Everything is simplistic in nature, but incredibly complex, because this is a reality that has been built up with the finest vibrations man can dream of. And most things already exist or have existed at some point in time, but we are experiencing a constant reinventing of oneself, a constant reinvention of technology and industries, because everything is mimicking the universe and its expansion and its growth. So bottom line, data fragmentation is not good for our systems. If you are operating with a fragmented system, you have to solve the fundamental equation of trauma and unlock that energy in order to facilitate a change, a shift in direction, something new and something unexperienced, something that is magical, because with the previous framework, it was believed to be out of your reach. But nothing in this reality is out of your reach. If you can think it, you can touch it. It's simply about modulating your energy in the most efficient way possible and balancing between the feminine and masculine polarities. You got to be able to give, you got to be able to take. That's how you win in this reality. This has been Cursed Prince with the Algorithm version 1.1. To the next one.